Constructor. So what is a constructor and why we are going to use it? Constructor is a special method. What is a constructor? It is a special method defined in the class. Constructor is a special method defined in the class. Constructor is also a method. It is defined in the class. It is a special method defined in the class. This method is used to initialize the data members of the class. Data members of the class. Initially, what happened? All the data members will be null. The values of the data members will be null. Initially, the values of the data members will be null. But I want to initialize it. Don't take it as a null. Assign some starting values. Name. If you don't assign, it is null. But I want to give name equal to Kumar. Age. If you don't give, null. But I want to give age equal to 10. Giving the initial values for the data members. Next. This will have same name as class name. So constructor will have exactly the same name of the class. Next. Constructor will be called, can be invoked only once. Only once. That is at the time of creating an object. Constructor can be invoked only once, that is at the time of creating an object. Constructor will not have any return type. Will not have any return type. Constructor is a special method defined in the class. This method is used to initialize the data members of the class. This will have same name of the class. Constructor will be invoked only once, that is at the time of creating an object. Constructor will not have any return type. Syntax. Class name. Syntax, class name, parameters. So let us take some examples. Create Apex class student with a constructor. Create a Apex class student with a constructor. So you create public class student. Then we are giving a constructor public class. Now method created with the same name of the class. Create a Apex class, employee with a constructor. Public class employee public class with a constructor. Create a class with a constructor. Create a Apex class. Product info. And constructor has two parameters. So create Apex class. Get Apex class. Wrapper. The constructor. With name industry as parameter. So complete the 3, 4, 5. Complete 3, 4, 5 examples. Complete 3, 4, 5 examples, everyone. Everyone complete the example 3, 4, 5. Everyone complete the example 3, 4, 5. So we create here public class invoice details. Public class invoice details with the constructor. Public class product info. Public class product info with two parameters. What are the parameters? One. So constructor with the two parameters. Same story here. This is what I create. Public account wrapper, string name, string industry. Public account wrapper, string name, string industry. So this is how we have created a constructor with parameters. Now, as I told you, constructor is basically used for what? Initializing the data. I want to initialize the data. So let us take some examples of that. Create a constructor. Create a Apex class. College with data members, name, phone, location. Create a constructor and initialize. Name as create a method which will display so work on this. Create a class college, data members, name, phone, city. Create a constructor and initialize the data members, name as city, name, city and phone number, name as CBAT, phone as 0401234, city as Hyderabad. So create a class with the data members, constructor and a method. Class, constructor, data members and a method. So what was this? I have created a class with a name, phone, city as data members. Class is created with a name, phone, city as data members. We had public. Now I told initialize the data members. Initialize means assign the starting values. Name equal to constructor you did not call. It will be invoked automatically when an object is created. Method should be called by us. Public void
Yeah, this dot name, this dot phone is not required. This is
still we are not reached the concept.
okay.
So we had a class with the data members, with constructor with method. So what we had in the class, we have name, phone, city as data members. We have a constructor which is used to initialize the starting values of name, phone, city. We have a method called show which will print the values of name, phone and city. Everyone is good with this example? Non-developers, people who are new to the programming, am I clear with this concept? Okay, so let us go to the next one. Let us go to the next concept here. Now, create a class to collect the details of CSE students a class to collect the details of CSE students of CBT college, third year, and print their details. So this is my requirement. Now tell me, what are the data members involved in this? Create a class to collect details of CSE students of CBT. So we are collecting the details about every CSE student. So branch, college, year. Branch, college, year is the data. We are collecting the CSE students data from CBT college from third year. So what is the data involved? Name of the college, branch of the student, and the year of the student. This data we are trying to collect. And we are supposed to initialize the data because everybody belongs to CSE, everybody belongs to CBT, everybody belongs to third year. It is a fixed data. So we can give an initial value, right? Now how do you create this? Public class now I was giving string public string college. If you want to give 1, 2, 3, 4 integer, if you want to type it as a third, string. How you define a constructor? Public student now display it. So what I was giving here, system.debug,
What is the difference of show and call?
see, method name can be anything of your choice. Instead of call, I'll write ABC. What is the problem with this? Now, what is an identifier? Name given to a method or a variable or a class. Now you can give any unique name of your choice. I can give a call, I can give a show. When you say show, doesn't mean it will display. I gave a name called show. Instead of show, you can give a name called ABC. Instead of ABC, you can give a name called XYZ. Right? This name has nothing to do with the logic. This name has nothing to do with the logic. Okay, boss?
Okay.
Just a name to identify the method.
Satish, by default, variable declaration is public, right?
Come again?
Like you wrote public. You wrote public string college. Instead of that, string college is also same, right?
Public, this is only the format in which you are supposed to write. This is only the format in which you are supposed to write. String public will not come. Access modifier, data type, variable name.
No, that's okay. But what I'm asking, till now we are creating the string using string college. Now we started public for every variable.
In the last class, we have seen access modifiers, right? There is a reason we are
Okay.
including access modifiers.
Understood.
Right. Previous examples, I didn't use this because we didn't cover the access modifier. Now we know what is a public, what is a private and global. So I started adding this thing to the program. So I hope this is clear for everyone. Everyone is good with this? Okay. Now let's take,
Satish, where is what is the
complete.
significance now of the?
Please allow me to complete the topic. I told you I'll give. Now, let me go back. Example. Please ask your query. When I ask you to write a program, I'll be free that time. Just ask me the queries. Create Apex class. Create Apex class. Employee. Just to collect the data. So, employees of Hyderabad branch. So you are supposed to collect data members should be company name, city, create a constructor, create a constructor, with as parameter. And assign company as create a method, set data, which will calculate salary and bonus based on experience. If experience is more than 5 years, create a method which will print all the data members. So create this class, everyone. Create this class, everyone. Yeah, now ask me what is your query? Online. Now tell me what is your query? Someone is asking a query. Someone from online is asking a query. What was your query?
Satish, where are you using the constructor that you initialized in the show method, the previous example. Like the object creation, you said it will be invoked during the object creation.
See, this is the constructor. We are creating a class. Once you are creating an object, we'll be using a constructor. Now we are defining the definition of a class. This is a class and this is the constructor. Now we'll be using this constructor only when you are going for a creation of objects. Now what we are learning, how to define a constructor, the class. Once you go for a creation of object, we see how to use a constructor. First you should know how to define it first. Then we go for how to use it. Now we are still in the process of learning how to define a constructor. If the first constructor is defined in different ways, how many ways we can define, what is the purpose of it, if you know it, then we go for using it. Right? Okay, boss.
Okay.
Now everyone create this class, what I have mentioned here. Create this class, everyone. So identify what are the data members we have, define the constructor, understand the purpose of the constructor, define the method, set data, define the method, display. Everyone sincerely make an attempt of writing this program. Then how you are supposed to do? Public class employee. So in this employee, what are the data members I had? The data members what I have is public string, I will take a name, company name, decimal, salary. Now I told you to create a constructor, public employee with experience as parameter, decimal Then I was supposed to assign the value. What is the name of the company? City, Hyderabad. What is the value of EXP? Whatever the value we are passing as experience. So, whatever the value we are passing as experience, that should be assigned here. Then I told set data, public void. The set data I told if experience is greater than 5, bonus equal to public void display. When you say display, I was supposed to print the value. So what was this? We have a class, we have a data members, we have a constructor with parameter, and we have methods. This is how we create. I hope you are good with this. People are good with this concept. Concept of class with the data members, methods, constructor, you are defined. Everyone is good with this? Okay. Now,
Satish,
yes.
Satish, for the method that is being created, is there any value that is being returned?
Did I give any return type there? Did I give any return type? What is the value there? Void means what? There is nothing. In the definition, they ask you to return any value here. Every method will return some value. No, depends upon the context we have to define. As per my requirement, did I give any return type here?
Okay.
Right. So the point is every logic will not be same. Every method will not be same. As per the requirement, you have to form. There is no global definition here. Only syntax will be common. Rest all the things as per your requirement, that things will be formed. So you cannot compare a previous program with this program. So everything is a fresh program.
Okay.
Everything you have to build based on the requirement. Right, Amma? Okay. Now, let us go to the next concept. We are trying to understand creation of object. I told you, if you create a class, we cannot use it directly. Class is only a template. Now, if anybody want to use it, we are supposed to create an object for the class. Without creating an object, we cannot use a class. Class is only a template. Class is only a template. Now, if you want to use it, you are supposed to go for creating an object. Without creating an object, you cannot use a class. Class is only a template. It will not run. Class is only a template. It will not run. If you want to run the class, we are supposed to create an object. If you want to run the class, we are supposed to create an object. So how do you create this object? Then I am giving here. Let me give you. Let's give basic level. Public employee. Now I'm giving some method here. This is the class what I define. This is a class what I define. When I create a class, this class will not run by itself. We are supposed to create an object. So how do you create an object? If you want to create any object, we are supposed to use a keyword called new. When I say new, it will allocate memory for data members of the class. New is a keyword which will allocate memory for data members of the class. New is a keyword which is used to allocate a memory for data members of the class. Let me give you. When I said new, memory is allocated. For whom the memory is allocated? Data members. Who are the data members we have? Name. Allocate the memory. Let us assume memory is allocated at some address 400. So what is the value of name? If you don't assign any value, what is the default value? These are the values. New will allocate the memory. Suppose if I say one more new. What happened? If I say one more new, again memory is allocated. But the only thing is address location will be. Again if I say new, so every time you say new, memory will be allocated. This new is referring to this memory. This new has created this memory. This new has created this memory. So what are the default values we had? Name equal to null, age equal to null. Then after this we are calling what is the class? Employee. Call the constructor of the new. After the new keyword, invoke the constructor. New followed by the constructor. When you say constructor, what is the constructor we had? Employee. I'm calling the employee. Now, constructor is called. What is the name of the constructor? Employee. Do you have any local variables in the constructor? Check out, do you have any local variables? There are no local variables. I have not defined any variable in the constructor. So, what is the logic in the constructor? Okay. You call a constructor. Name. Do you have any local variable called name? In the constructor, there is no local variable called name. So, who called this constructor? New keyword. So, go to that new keyword. Do you have any variable called name? Yes. Give name equal to. Now again, age. Do you have any local variable called age? No. So who called you? This new memory called you. So go to that new memory, give age equal to 30. So before calling the constructor, what is the value of name? 30. Okay, value of name null. Age is null. After calling the constructor, what happened? After calling the constructor, values are set. Now values are set. So new followed by constructor. This is called object. It is an instance. It is an instance of employee. Employee template we have. Now I got a material. You took a Xerox copy of it. Xerox copy. One Xerox copy. Second Xerox copy. Third Xerox copy. Every Xerox copy is independent, right? Every Xerox copy is independent. This is a copy for Ravi. This is a copy for Hari. This is a copy for Prasad. Not all the three are same. If I want to give copy of the material for 3 students, I will take 3 copies. If I want to create a copy for 40 students, 40 copies. All the copies are independent. 1 copy for Ravi, 1 copy for Prasad, 1 copy for Divya. I hope you are clear. Similarly, employee is a template. Class is a template. For this template, how many instances you want to create? Instance 1, instance 2, instance 3. Every instance is independent. Right. Now new. Here also I am calling the new. New employee. So when you call employee, what will happen? It will assign the value. So name equal to again I call new employee. What will happen? So memory is allocated and address is assigned. This is at some location 600. For our understanding, I am giving. But practically, where is that memory allocated? Do you know? We don't know. Memory is going to allocate, new is going to allocate the memory somewhere. Now the point is, there are 3 copies created in the memory. I want to refer to this copy. How will you refer? Do you know where is that memory? Then how will you refer to the data in that memory? When you say new, memory is allocated and data is stored, which we are calling as object. How many objects are created? 3 objects. New followed by constructor will create an object. New followed by constructor will create an object. How will you refer to that object? In the memory, somewhere in the RAM, somewhere the memory is allocated. Now, how will you refer to the data from that memory? Where is that memory? How do you recognize? How do you recognize? That is the reason people have started creating reference variables. Reference variable means referring to the memory allocated by the new keyword. Whatever the memory that is allocated by the new keyword, that memory is referred by this variable. Now I am creating a variable to refer to the memory. I am creating a variable to refer to the memory created by the new variable. What is that variable called? Reference variable. So for which class you have created object? For employee class you created object. So reference variable of employee 1. So what this employee 1 is doing? This is referring to the memory allocated by. So that memory is now referred with what? EMP1. That memory is referred with what? EMP. Wherever the memory is allocated, that memory was referred with the keyword called, with a variable called EMP1. So EMP1 dot name means 400 dot name. EMP1 dot age, 400 dot age. Are you clear? What is that EMP1? It is a reference variable. People are generally calling it as object. Object means new constructor is an object. To refer to that object, we created a variable which is called reference variable. Now generally people are calling reference variable as object. Because the variable is referring to object, they are calling as object. Are you clear about it? Now this memory, how they are referring? This is how we are creating. I hope you are good with this. Right? So what was this? New is a keyword which is used to allocate the memory for data members of the class. Constructor will be called automatically. Constructor will be called automatically once the memory is allocated for the data members. Now whatever the instance of memory that is created, that is referred using reference variable. We are creating a reference variable to refer to the memory allocated by the new keyword. Now, any members of the object should be referred with the reference variable. I hope you are good with this concept. People have followed this. Everyone is good? Followed, Amma? Object. Object is a instance of a class. If you want to run the class, we need to create object for the class first. Syntax. This is the syntax. No. What is A? New is a keyword used to assign a memory for new is a keyword used to assign the memory for data members of a class. Constructor. Once the memory is allocated, constructor will be once the memory is allocated, constructor is automatically invoked. This will assign data members. This will initialize data members of the class. This is a reference variable which is used to, which will refer to the instance of memory allocated by the new keyword. All the data members, all the members should be accessible. Right, boss? Now, let me create a class. Public. Public. This is the class what we created. Constructor. Now we have created this. Now I'm creating public dot debug. This is how we create it. Class data members constructor method. As I told you, if you create a class, it will not run. If you want to run this program, we are supposed to create object for it. What is the object? Equal to now create this. Once you are creating employee dot emp equal to new employee data. Now what I'm doing, emp dot experience. How do you access the data members? Object dot data member. Then I'm calling the method emp dot. So first to create an object for it, then invoke it. So I'm going to execute. So what was this now? Constructor. Once the memory is allocated, then we go for constructor. So when you execute, so the program is executed. Because I gave system.debug, output will be coming in log file. This is what we gave Satish, Hyderabad and file. How are you getting Satish and Hyderabad? Where did you assign the Satish and Hyderabad? In the constructor. That means when I am creating the object, automatically constructor is invoked. Now we are saying emp.name, emp.experience, we can call it. How the members of the class are invoked? With the object. Object.emp name, object.city, object.experience. Similarly, we have object.method1. I hope you followed this. Everyone has followed this. So let us do one example. Now, in the Salesforce, everything that you write should be a class. And if you want to execute a class, we are supposed to go with the object. Without creating an object, we cannot do it. Now, let us go to the next one. Create a Apex class. Now, you need to understand one point. If we don't give a constructor, what will happen? If you don't give a constructor, default constructor will come. Let me complete that point also. Now, I'm going to create a next one. Let us see. So I'm giving here public give public void No. So we call it. Then I'm calling SD dot. Now I call a constructor. I call a student details constructor, but there is no constructor in the class. I'm calling SD dot. So what was this? When I call this, there is no constructor defined in the class. If there is no constructor defined in the class, system will create a dummy constructor. If there is no constructor defined in the class, system will create a dummy constructor. How the dummy constructor is going to be? If the class is student details, this is the dummy constructor which is created by Salesforce. If there is no constructor defined in the class, dummy constructor will be created by the Salesforce. If there is no constructor defined by the class, dummy constructor will be created by the Salesforce. Right. This is how we created. Now execute this. What was that? I give integer here. Execute. This is how we are doing. So if constructor is not defined, dummy constructor will be called. If the class, if there is no constructor in the class, the dummy constructor will be. This is how we have treated. I hope you are good with this. Right. Now, there is a constructor with the parameters. Constructor with the parameters. Let us take the next example. Look at this. First, I'll take a method with the parameters. Then you understand. Public. Now, this is what I created. Now I'm giving public product info string then I'm giving product name quantity equal to now look at this. Boss, if you give me the name, I will save that name in as product name. If you give me quant, I will save it as quantity. If you give me cost, I will save it as price. So if you want to create an object for this class contain constructor with the parameters. Now whatever the parameters I am passing, they are stored to the variables called product name. So first value what I gave, first parameter is name, second parameter is quant, third parameter is cost. Product info. No. If I don't give the parameters, they are expecting a constructor with a parameter, but I am not passing any parameter. Execute. What is that? Undefined constructor. Because they have a constructor, they are expecting some values which you are not passing. I told. So how many values they are expecting? 3 values. First string, then I give quantity, then I give price. So now, what is the value of name? When I call this is a template. Now I am saying run this class with the name as Del, with the quantity as 10 and cost as 5,000. When I am calling a object, it is saying run that class, execute that program called product info with the name called Del, quantity called 10, cost called 5,000. Then now if I pass this, name is assigned to whom? Product name. So what is the value of product name? What is the value of product name? Product name is name. Name is what? 10. Quantity is 10. It is assigned here. Execute. So name is Del, quantity 10, price. So what did I print actually? I have printed the name, product name, quantity, price. These are the values. Now product name equal to name. What is the name? Whatever the value I was passing there, that is the name. So if you are having a constructor with the parameters, you have to pass the value. Boss, run this method with the following values. Run this method with the following values. Run this method with the following values. I hope you are clear. Right, boss? So this is how we are invoking a constructor with parameters. This is how we are executing. So we'll see the rest of the concept in the next session. But everyone is comfortable with the constructor? Now, basically, let us revise the points one more time. What is a constructor? Constructor is a special method which will have the same name of the class. What is the purpose of a constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the data members. Now, how many times the constructor will be called? Only once. At what time? At the time of creating a object. Constructor will be called only once. That is at the time of creating a object. Okay. Now, if you don't define a constructor, what will happen? Default, which is created by a compiler. Okay. Next, constructor will have the same name of class. Will it have any return type like void or integer or something? No. Right. So, what is the difference between method and a constructor? Method will have return type. Constructor will not have return type. And class name and method name should be, class name and constructor name should be same, whereas the method name will be different. Okay. Next, we have seen about the next one. Constructor is called only once. Method will be called number of times. We can call a method in number of times. Constructor is called only once. Only once. Right, boss? I hope you are good with this. Right. Now, will the class execute? If we create a class, write a class will never execute. It's a dummy. If you want to run a class, we are supposed to create an object. Only when you create an object, a class will run. So without creating an object, class is a structure. Now anybody want to use it, define an object and use it. Class is only a structure. If anybody want to use it, create a object and use it. Right, boss? How do you create an object? New constructor. What is the purpose of new? New is the keyword used to allocate the memory for the class. Constructor will initialize it. Whatever the memory that is initialized, that should be referred by a variable, which is called reference variable. What is the difference between primitive variable and reference variable? Primitive variable will hold data. Age equal to 10, name equal to Kumar, city equal to Hyderabad. Values are stored. Whereas the reference variable store the reference to the location. Now I am referring to this memory. In that memory, a lot of data will be there. So reference variable will refer to reference of a memory. Reference to a memory. Right, boss? Chalo. That's all from my end. We'll continue tomorrow. And all of you